Hey guys, Will here, and today I want to talk about something a little bit controversial, and that's the proliferation or the escalation of the Blizzard store. So, the Blizzard store, or the pet store, the Battle.net store, the cash shop, whatever, it's derided by many people because, why do we have a cash shop in a sub-game, right? A lot of people say that all the time. And I kind of agree, but the pet store has gotten a lot more noticeable recently. In the last year or so, they've definitely stepped up their efforts and made it a lot more prolific, and it's kind of in your face now. Initially, the store was restricted to pets, and later they added mounts. Now we have, more cosmetic items like the helmets, and there's a lot more additional character services. Of course, the most recent addition would be the boost to 90. And they've definitely added a lot more things, like they've had a huge increase in the frequency of releases. They even added the in-game shop button right before you had to go through the website, and I understand why they added the in-game shop, kind of to make it easier, because pretty much every other game that has, purchases has the ability to buy them in-game. It kind of made sense that they would add them in-game. It's a little bit less clunky, you don't have to go on the website all the time. But they actually added another button on the character select screen, so you don't have to fully log in now, which, again, makes sense for buying certain character services, but it just feels like they're trying to kind of force it on us, doesn't it? That's how I feel anyway. But with regards to frequency of releases, I think that's the most telling thing. I think that if you look at when they added these mounts initially, it used to be about one a year, and now they've really stepped it up. So the Celestial Steed, the first mount ever added to the pet store, was added in May of 2010. They didn't add another one until they added the Winged Guardian in May of 2011. Then the Heart of the Aspects, in my opinion, would have been the best mount in the game if it had dropped off Deathwing and not been a store mount, was added in February 2012, so a little bit under a year there, but definitely, still fairly close. Then the Swift Windsteed, the really terrible mount, added in January 2013. I kind of understand why they stepped up their releases after this one, because I don't think anyone actually likes this one or buys it. It's pretty bad. The Armored Bloodwing came out in May of 2013, and to me this is where they finally, or when they first really kind of maybe stepped over the line a little bit. Not entirely. I mean, they're free to do what they want. It is their game. I understand that. But one, it came out very quickly after the most recent store mount, and it's the only bat mount in the game. And people had been asking for a bat mount for a long time, and people really liked those, the Forsaken, the Flight Path ones. Obviously, those were a vanilla model, so they added a new model of bat. And people were like, why wasn't this like a drop-off Garrosh or, a raid achievement mount? Why'd you kind of ruin it, essentially, by putting it on the store? Now, I know there's a lot of people who say, well, putting it on the store makes it available for everyone, it doesn't ruin it, don't be so elitist. I get what you're saying. I disagree. I think exclusivity definitely makes the mount more appealing. For example, the Sky Golem would have been a much cooler mount if it had dropped off Heroic Garrosh and not just been an engineering mount, but that's my opinion and not really related to this. So, the Fairy Dragon was added in November 2013, so less than, about 6 months from when the Armored Bloodwing was added, so still much quicker than their previous releases, and people really wanted that one, and people seem to be okay with that one being a store mount, I guess. So, even though it, it's pretty unique, it changes colors, it seemed like they were putting more resources into these mounts now, like they were being a little bit more unique. And then the Iron Sky Reaver came out only 2 months after that, in January 2014, after being very briefly announced and then kind of released. People said that they felt like they kind of had to release it because the whole no flying thing was really coming out strong around that time. It had been announced earlier, but that's when a lot of people were finding out about it. So people were like, why would I buy a mount related to an expansion that I'm not going to be able to fly in? So they just released it early. I'm not totally sure how true that is, but it's something a lot of people were saying. Now, again, if you look at the Iron Sky Reaver, it has way more animations and unique model stuff on it. I mean, all the store mounts have unique models, but this one seems more unique than the others. Now, again, they are using the same skeleton for the new Chimeras in Warlords of Draenor, so it's not like they just made it for this mount, but compared to whatever is currently available in-game, it definitely seems like, well, why wasn't this a drop-off Garrosh, right? Was this made that much later, or was this ready, and they could have had a drop-off Garrosh? I mean, it has iron stars as little engines on it. Like, it would have made perfect sense to be a Garrosh mount, honestly. And people feel like, if you look at the mounts in Siege of Orgrimmar, they're definitely not as cool as some of the other ones. Like, the Iron Juggernaut is kind of cool. I mean, yeah, Metal Robot Scorpion is nice, but it's a remodel, it's not a recolor for those who think it is. It's not just a retexture, it is a totally new model. It just uses the same skeleton as the other Scorpion mounts. But the Corcoran Juggernaut is certainly not as unique as something like Mimiron's Head or Invincible, which we were kind of led to believe it would be. I believe Ian Hazacostas said, yeah, we want to make, the heroic Garrosh mount something as awesome, as invincible as Mimiron's Head, and they regretted not adding a mount in for Lei Shen or for some other raids. And I kind of feel like, yeah, like all the mounts in Siege of Orgrimmar are lackluster. The Corcoran Werewolf looks almost exactly like the Horde RBG mount. And then you have the Galakras mount, which is kind of cool, but it's a red Proto-Drake with stripes and armor. It's not really that unique. It could have been anything. Why do we need another Proto-Drake? We get enough Proto-Drakes. So I just feel like, if you look around, it appears that the mounts they've been adding to the game recently are not as amazing as the ones they add to the store. Now, I'm not trying to say it's some sort of conspiracy like Blizzard doesn't want to add cool mounts to the game. They only want to put things on the store. They're greedy. But if you look at it, it does kind of seem like they've been leaning towards that more. Like they've been adding the cooler mounts to the store, the ones people would really want, and I'm not really a huge fan. If you compare their mount stuff to their pet stuff, really this problem only affects mounts. Like, pets have been added pretty much every 6 months or so is when they add pets, and they haven't really been adding only the coolest pets to the store. Like, yeah, the Blossoming Ancient, the Brew Pet, the Brew Pup, were pretty cool, but there's a lot of cool pets in the game that you can get just from going out and collecting them and doing pet battles. Sure, there's a lot of fucking spiders and stupid critters you can get, but there are some really cool ones out there that you can get in-game. Really, it's mounts, and I think the reason for that is because mounts are viewed with a little bit more prestige than pets overall. People care more about mounts. At least more people care. I think the guys who are really into pet battles, they really care about pet battles, but I feel like more people care about their mounts overall, and so that's why they're put on the store more, and plus they sell for a lot more. There's also been several other things added to the store, especially in other regions. Like Asia has the things like the charm bags where you can buy lesser charms to get fortune, and experience elixirs. And now these things could one day make it to America, but in every interview around the time when these things were data mined, Blizzard was like, hey, these are for the Asian market, they view things a little differently, they pay on a different model, and these things are more common in games over there. So we're adding these because they've been asked for by the Asian player base. We're not really going to add them to America, but around this time these things were data mined, people were really afraid that, like, the experience elixir would come in, and that's funny in retrospect now that we have the boost to 90, and people were pretty concerned about that, but the experience elixir I remember got even more people were upset about that. And the charm bags, I don't think people really care. Like, basically it's buying your Warforged sigil every week. Is that really a big deal? Why would you spend money on that when you can easily farm it in game, really? Things like that are kind of a slippery slope down towards pay to win, and if we see more things like that added, then people would kind of feel like, hey, I can just buy my way to victory in this game. I don't really like that. I think WoW should not be that type of game. So why is Blizzard doing this, right? Why have they increased the frequency of releases? Why are they pushing the boundaries on pay to win? Why are they adding more and more cash shop items? Well, obviously the main reason is to make money. I mean, some people will just say flat out, hey, Blizzard is greedy, they want to make more money all the time, they want to milk their player base as much as they possibly can. I think that's a pretty cynical approach, and I don't really agree, but I do agree they are trying to make a profit on this stuff. Some say it's to make up for lost subscribers, which makes some sense, right? They have been losing a considerable amount in the past several years. I mean, WoW was originally at 12 million, and now they're down to about 7.6, so yeah, that's a pretty big chunk that have been lost in about 3 years. And I think that more cash-up items kind of makes up for that, but really if you add up all the money that they make from these, it's not that much. I mean, they make more money off the character services than they do off of the mounts and pets, because people actually server transfer quite a bit, and they are doing the cross-realm merges with the connected realms, which actually would lessen their profit there. Now, they have kind of stopped it for now due to, they say, technical limitations, which I'm inclined to believe them. But really, it wouldn't make sense to connect a lot of realms because people would be transferring off them, but maybe I guess people would just cancel their sub instead of transferring. But a lot of people think that Blizzard is very much about milking all the money they possibly can out of their player base, and I don't totally agree. I think, yeah, they want to make money, but they're more concerned with making a good game, and then people will pay them for the good game rather than just taking all your money. So really what I think, and this is probably a little bit of a weird theory, but I think it's to ease the transition to free-to-play. I think that one day, I mean, pretty much everyone says one day WoW will go free-to-play, but it's a long ways off, and I do think it is a while. It's definitely not immediate. But I think that the reason that they're adding so many little microtransactions like this is to make it is to set it up for when it does go free to play, so they'll have like an easy revenue stream. Now at the moment it makes them look like dicks because they have the subscription model and a cash shop, but eventually they'll switch it over. Now like I said, not immediate. My guess is not during Warlords of Draenor, probably not even the expansion afterwards, probably the one after that. So 2 to 4 years, I think, is when we'll see it. Maybe even 5 years. When subscribers dwindle, they will do it. Because free-to-play opens up to a bigger audience, and a bigger audience equals more money. A lot of games, like, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings Online, have seen their profits go up after switching to free-to-play. Now, currently, WoW is the king of the sub-market, so they're not going to, be in a position to do that yet. But eventually, WoW could also be the king of the free-to-play MMO market. Lots of free-to-play games make a lot of money. League of Legends doesn't make as much as WoW does, but they make a lot of money, and they have a huge audience. I mean, their penetration in the market is insane. They have like, 60, 70 million active monthly users, 30 million a day. Now, they don't make as much money as WoW because WoW is the king of making money, but they make a lot, and WoW could easily monetize the free-to-play player base if they eventually make it, fully free-to-play, and I think they could easily make a lot of money. People say WoW is dying. I think that they'll feel that way until Blizzard hits the switch to free-to-play and makes even more money than they do now, but they won't do that for a long time, because the thing that subscription guarantees is a guaranteed revenue stream. Like, they always know they're going to make this much per month every time. Whereas the free-to-play stuff, it varies a lot depending on what they release. And a lot of people don't really like the free-to-play model because they feel like even if it's not pay to win, they're just trying to gouge you at every opportunity. There's not as much trust involved. Like, people don't trust the free-to-play developers for whatever reason. They feel like, they're always trying to milk you. And in some ways they are. In some ways, companies that do things like Facebook games, whatever, where they definitely try to do that to you, it's well-deserved. That reputation is well-deserved of them being dicks who just try to take all your money. Whereas League of Legends, I think, Riot, I think, has a fairly good model there. Dota has an even better one. So I think that if Blizzard wants to go free-to-play, they'll look at some of these other games, and they won't make it pay-to-win. I think that Blizzard will really try to avoid pay-to-win. It seems to be one of their tenets of free-to-play now. They've made more free-to-play games recently. If you look at Hearthstone, that's not pay-to-win as much as some people love to say it is, but I don't think WoW would even come that close. I think it'll be like Heroes of the Storm is going to be, where they'll have like, cosmetic items, like tons and tons of cosmetic stuff, way more than we have now, and, maybe pay for a certain convenience, but not even that much. Like, I think the boost to 90 is about as close as we're ever going to get to pay to win in WoW. I don't think they'll ever sell, like, gear with stats on it. I really hope not, anyway. Probably just a lot of cosmetic things. Now, is it hard to make as much money off that as they do with the sub currently? Yeah, and that's why they won't do it until they need a much bigger audience, until they need to really kind of open the floodgates and let more people in because everyone's gone, because the subscription model is dying. Like I said, I think it'll be in 2 to 5 years or so we have a while, but I do think WoW will eventually go free to play. Anyway, that's really all I have to say on this subject. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think that WoW is going to go free to play one day? Do you agree with me? Or do you think I'm an idiot and you just think that Blizzard is trying to gouge people and they'll always have the sub model? They just, it's how they want to do it. They have said that WoW is built on a sub and they plan to stick with it, but Blizzard says a lot of things. Anyway, that's all for me for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.